have, Commissioner.
Okay, thank you. Bannock County Commissioners are now in session. I don't see any changes. Oh. Amended to include Braden Clayson, Chief of Staff, presenting for a signature.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion that we accept the amended agenda as presented.
We have a motion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
First item on our agenda is invoices. I had a couple of questions.
Okay.
What's easiest? Is this what is this? It's an annual fee?
Yes.
What-
Yes, that would be an annual fee for voice products. That I'm not 100% sure what it is. I can run down and check. It's under investigation, so it's one of their, something that probably like a body cam recording or probably something like
Okay,
that.
okay.
But I can get the invoice if you want me to.
Well, just, that's what kind of caught my
Yeah,
attention.
that is an annual
An
fee.
annual
Yeah.
type deal.
Yep.
And then the next one, these are all the attorneys, and we used to have a total
Well,
at the bottom when we,
it depends on how they turn the invoices in. So some of the invoices they give us, we can enter just the invoice total. Some of them we have to list out separate so that we can show that it's been paid. So that if we look back at a record, it'll show as a duplicate
but you're
payment.
not writing a single check for each one of these.
No,
But it's
it'll
total.
total at the bottom.
Okay,
But
and that's what
because
we
you
used
have-
to have.
But because you guys have to approve each individual invoice,
Uh-huh.
it's listed out separate. So I can get the grand total of what we paid Echo Hawk that Braden signed off on.
Okay, and I'm there,
Things, but
Lagus.
Okay, and
So,
Lagus.
and all I did, is,
have
in the
time
past, I've
available
always
today.
compared that,
I have.
where we used to pay the monthly
Right
fee
after
of
this.
5,000
Uh-huh,
stuff.
what that total
So I
was.
just kind of liked
And
it.
some of these, are any of them more than a
I'm
month?
not sure. I'm
Well, see, like
open
these are
till
back
about
into November.
11:45, but then we're touring jails.
So his are
Yeah,
November,
we come to the jail inspection
January.
too. Yeah, I go out. I do the minutes when we're out there. So it is.
Yeah, I can
Oh,
go
I
down and
didn't
grab
have
the
any
totals.
time in
No,
the-
it was just something that we'd looked at before.
Okay.
Okay.
There may be a couple in there from November, I think.
Yeah, there was a couple of November 30s.
And this one, what is, I mean,
Those are just group sessions. So for the domestic violence grant, we pay for individual sessions for
just.
Trauma Life Services.
Uh-huh.
So just counseling sessions, that's part of the grant that they allow payment for.
Okay, well, it was just the way they was all out there, all separate, and all saying the same thing.
Yeah, different,
Just-
the difference of David entering stuff versus Kelly. When we train the new person, Caitlin is gonna do the training
Okay.
so that we can get consistency again. That's the only negative of having different people do data entry on payables is
Well,
they don't enter it the same.
I'm not, when it isn't the same, I question.
Well,
So,
you get used to a certain way and do you want me to get those totals on those and just report back?
just send them to me if
Okay.
you think about it.
Okay,
Or
yeah, I can,
send it to us each separate, so.
We'll
like
have
I
it
said,
as a, I can pull the warrant register that tells us how much we paid.
Okay, yeah, like I said, I just like to kind of, in my mind, keep a total of
Yep.
where we're at and stuff. I mean, we had the one that was 26,000 a month there for a while, and
Right.
I just like to keep it in my mind.
Yep, I will get the totals for the conflict attorney.
All right, thank you. Any comments or questions on the commissioner's report? Motion?
Nope. Mr. Chair, make a motion we approve the Commissioner's report as presented.
Have a motion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Next, we have salary rate approval forms. Oh, I guess we also have this one. This is per diem for conference.
I sign this thing?
Just anywhere right there.
Is that it? Just one,
That's
two?
it.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion that we approve the salary rate approval forms and the expense request as presented.
We have a motion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Well, Mike, looks like you're next on our agenda.
Okay.
Please introduce yourselves.
I'm Mike Garrett. With the first part of my presentation will be for representing the Snow Machine Grooming Board.
Tyson Jacobs, the grooming board.
Okay.
Okay, first on our agenda is the parking lot at Inman. We struggled to seem to be able to get it plowed before all the residents show up, and I've invited the Forest Service here. I would appreciate
They
their
can come on
input.
up and introduce themselves too. Either place, side.
Just move.
Hi, I'm Kim Obley. I'm the district ranger of the West Side Ranger District Forest Service.
Rudy Moore, foreman, road crew, Forest Service.
Okay?
Okay, so far this year, twice, we've had an absolute disaster in the parking lot because it hasn't been plowed. One of them was the day before, it was New Year's Eve day. There was trucks parked clear down Inman Road because there were 3 trucks stuck right in the entrance of the parking lot because we did have new snow. And it just created a problem for all the people trying to get in. So we actually had radios. I was clear down at the bottom, just warning people of what was going on. I told them, if you want to take your chance and go drive up in there, you're more than welcome, but this is where we're at. It's because the parking lot wasn't plowed, and we just want to see what we can do about it. Getting it plowed before, 8 o'clock in the morning, because that's usually when people kind of start showing up. It's just been a mess, and then it happened again like 2 weeks later, the same thing, trucks parked clear down Inman Road.
Okay.
So at this point, I'd like to, I guess, give Kim a chance to.
We've been communicating with the county that our plow has been broken for the last month. It was a brand new plow as of 21. It cost $10,000, and it had a major crack, and we had to deal with warranties and whatnot. And so for the past month or so, that plow that we use at Inman has been not in commission. It is. We're picking it up today or tomorrow, but that was the answer, basically.
Okay, and you've been in contact with the county. Who was you in contact with?
Braden,
Yeah.
we
Oh,
So we had, I think our wires were crossed because it was about the same time our groomer went down, roughly,
Yep.
I think.
Yep.
And so then the groomer came back on, I think maybe a day later, within a couple of days of them letting us know that the plow was down. And so I think we were under the impression, I took it as we were having the groomer back up, so things were gonna get plowed. So that one, I can take responsibility on that one. Alan and I actually talked about this later, and that was something that was not communicated to him, because typically any of Kim's emails, I'll email directly to Alan, so he's aware as well, since he's at the board meetings. And so he and I have been sharing emails back since, but that was one that we thought our equipment was coming back online, so we didn't know that their plow being down was necessarily going to be as big an issue as what it turned into. And then we're still waiting on the contract for the updated agreement, because that was also a day late on the state's part, or,
Yep.
right, so that hasn't been signed yet either, which we're close on, but that's another thing we're also looking at.
so it sounds to me like there's a few complications. One is communication. And any time that something like this, I mean, yeah, we appreciate you getting hold of Braden, but we need to get that on our website. We need to get a hold of the grooming board. We need to let everybody know anytime anything's broken down. communication with the public is vital. I mean, it's essential. So you'll have your plow back up, but what do we do if this happens again? How do we cover this?
Okay, so the issue of being out there early to get this plowed, so I'm running that operation as far as timing and everything on that. On the weekends, we come in at 5 o'clock in the morning, we are at that lot no later than 6. Every time we went in, the road is not plowed going into the lot. We get it plowed, many times coming out, still not plowed, the road itself. So we're in there, we're getting it done. The only issue has been with the plow that's been broke down for the last month.
Okay.
Now, weekdays, admittedly, we don't get out there until probably 7:30, 8 o'clock. Because the public is not in there sledding as hard as they do on the weekends.
That's true. I live in Ingham, up Rapid Creek, so I see your truck when it does come by. And sometimes it isn't that early, sometimes it is. But the road itself up there, Kyle?
We have a bus turnaround that's a little bit lower down the road, but we don't get right up to that parking lot first thing. It's not one of our first priorities.
Yeah, and we're very well aware of that. That's what they were saying, and just some of us talking, well, maybe the county can do it. And I said, that's not a priority for the county to go up in.
And it
Last
isn't.
week when we did get the big snowstorm, they said, they only plowed to the end of the pavement.
That's a bus turnaround.
Yeah, so where the pavement ends, there's a turnaround there, and that's where the bus turns around, so we make sure that's hit early with all our bus routes. And then once we've got the bus routes, then we plow the rest of the way in to them, kind of second priority or third priority road.
Okay.
We did, I guess, clean it a little bit the other day.
Yeah, they had the blade in there. They would go down on the rescue Tuesday.
Yeah, we tried to help out, and we had some time available, so I told them to clean it up somewhat.
And that's what we need to know. We need to know, like I say, if there's a problem, we don't know about it, we can't.
Yeah, and if
Have
something
somebody up
goes
there
like
help.
that, if the communication was there, we could see what we could do too.
So let's work on that end of it. Make sure that, and just to let you know, Commissioner Crowder is going to be over the snow grooming board now in the assignments, and he needs to know. He needs to be aware of anything that's going on.
Okay. So the second part of this, the snow grooming, was I gave Christie a map.
Let me stop there for a minute.
Okay.
Is there any further comments or questions on the plowing and stuff, so we finish that end up first?
No, just that we did put some social media out there about it, and so did the county as well. The groomer's down, the plow's down, and not everybody sees all of that, but there was some of that happening.
Yeah, and all I saw and I heard is the groomer was down. I never did hear the plow was down.
Okay,
And the
all right.
parking
We'll be more
lots and
intentional.
stuff. So, and like I say, maybe there was a miscommunication because they thought that it was the same thing, but, okay,
That's it.
that's it. All right, thank you. All right, Mike.
I gave Christie a map. The Forest Service brought, or not Forest Service, Parks and Rec brought a map to our last meeting, which was last Tuesday night, about the area in Swan Lake at Red Rock. I guess some snow machiners went up there and parked right in front of Brett Yearsley's corrals, and he needed to get into his corral to feed cattle with his tractor. And the snow machiners and Brett kind of got into it, and they got into an arguing match and things, so they called, I don't know why they called Parks and Rec. But they wanted to know what we could do, and I told them, I said, I don't think it's anything to do with the grooming, but we don't groom Red Rock. We groom from Grant Ward over into Cottonwood. As you can see on that map, that's not even on our groom trail.
Yeah.
And I don't know why Parks and Rec thought it was our responsibility to present it to the commissioners. I don't know.
No, something like that, that's a landowner and a snowmobiler. And the sheriff's office is the one that would be involved with that if there's some
That's
problem.
what I thought too. that-
So, no, it's without, you don't have any authority there, any responsibility, in my opinion.
And that's what I thought they needed to give Bannock County, and see if they wanted to put a sign, say, no snow machines parked beyond this point. I don't know.
And that's also in the highway, or the.
Downey.
District.
Swan Lake Highway District is whose responsibility that is for the roads. But we could, I mean, we can't go put signs up everywhere that somebody wants to park off the side of any
Yeah,
road.
right.
Just, it's the way I feel about it. If we have a lot of trails, people snowmobile in that we don't groom, we don't do anything with. I mean, they leave from their houses and, or different things, so. That's one that's, if there's a conflict between a landowner and
I think you're correct. on
somebody
that.
parking, that's the sheriff, in my opinion.
Yeah, we have no jurisdiction on that one, especially where it's down in Swan Lake.
Yeah, but even on this end, it would be a sheriff.
Yeah.
Okay.
Up in McNabb, I mean, people park off the side of the road all the time. We don't groom that. It's, enjoy.
Okay, so we move on to the next thing. Last year, as of March 2022, Bannock County had sold 860 snow machine stickers at $45 a piece. That's $38,700. We just have a lot of people that are still upset about Inman, especially after our New Year's ride when the trail wasn't groomed. There was 41 snow machines in our group. And there was people that I didn't even know, so I'm guessing there was probably 75 snow machines up there. And that trail was an absolute disaster. So, in our December meeting that you attended, you told the operator to groom twice a week. And then for that month, for the next month, and then we talk about it in our January meeting, see how things went. Well, our January meeting, I asked him, I said, how many times did you groom Inman twice? He says, I didn't. At all. It still hasn't been done twice. It's been 5 weeks since you told him to do that.
And that, there was 2 weeks while this groomer was down? Or,
I guess you could say the groomer was down. He still groomed with it the following week after our New Year's ride,
did he?
because he knows we go up there every year. So we didn't groom it that weekend. He groomed it the following week and didn't get it fixed until the following Monday after that. And then I think he got with you and you put on your code reader what the deal was, is what I understood.
Yeah, got it fixed. Yeah, it was through a week. 2 weeks. Okay.
Yep. But he
Okay.
still ran the groomer with that sensor flashing the following week to groom it, and didn't fix it for another week still, so we kind of felt that he did that on purpose to screw up our New Year's ride, because for whatever reason, the guy absolutely hates me, and I try to be polite to him, you know, to be professional to him, and it just rubs him wrong that I even bring up the word Inman. And, you know, and you have a copy of that letter that was sent to the Snow Machine Grooming Board?
This one?
Yep.
And I'll just tell you, there's no signature on it. So to me, that's garbage. That's what, if we can't talk to somebody,
Well, and
It's
Cody
garbage.
Edmonds tried to reply to him and couldn't do that either, so I guess maybe we can take that with a grain of salt, but I could probably get 75 signatures to that.
oh, well, and like I said, I've attended those meetings, and I know that there's some pretty, quite a bit of contention
Yes, there is,
in that board. And
that's wrong.
but this is our employee, and so I'll just tell you that we'll have a meeting as the board and HR and talk to our employee, and if it's personnel, we're not gonna talk about it here,
Okay.
okay?
Okay, let's see. Well, the other issue, repeatedly in both of these pamphlets from Parks and Recreation, State of Idaho, 5 or 6 times it was stated here, the groomers work at night. He refuses to groom at night. Bannock County is the only county probably in the United States that grooms during the day. I've talked to all of our surrounding counties, the Tri-County, that's Franklin, Bear Lake, and Caribou County. I've talked with their representative, he's actually a county sheriff, Ryan Larson. He says all their trails are groomed at night. Their problem trails, they will groom 3 times a week, if that's what it takes. And we're lucky to get him just to do 1 day a week up there, and any given time, it would be nice to get you guys up there and actually ride that. That thing's horrible, snow machine. And 860 people bought stickers to support this because Tyson, myself, and Cody Edmonds in the parking lot will walk around and talk to people, ask them if they got stickers. Not that we're gonna chew their butt or not that they don't, but we advise them to support the system. And they say, well, geez, we don't, I had talked to a guy last week, he says, I'll buy my stickers next year, he says, but I'm gonna give my money to Caribou County, he says, because I'm tired of paying to ride to Inman. It's that bad. So we got people that, they're still willing to buy their stickers, but, I mean, 860 stickers to ride Inman like that, it's, people are going other places, you know, and I get, I mean, you know, that's up to them. But I don't think that's the purpose of what we're doing here.
Yeah.
It says right in here, from the state, all trails should be groomed for any level of rider. That's not just experts to ride Inman, that's little kids that want to get out with their parents. I mean, Cody Edmonds got that 8-year-old boy, he got him a 500. Boy, and it's terror on that little kid. My wife and daughter went with us on New Year's, and they couldn't hardly move their shoulders the next day. It just, I don't think that's what our grooming money should be going to. It needs to be done more than once a week. It needs to be done at night. They talk repeatedly about setup time. So our operator now, he'll leave the parking lot maybe 9 o'clock in the morning, 30 sleds follow him up in there. That's his biggest complaint. So as soon as I get to the top, here comes all these sleds, trash the trail. It says right here that it needs 2 to 4, sometimes 10 hours to set up. Well, he goes up there at 9 o'clock in the morning. People aren't gonna sit for 4 hours in the parking lot.
No.
They're out there to play. Then when he comes back out at night, you got another 30, 40 sleds following him. Where's your setup time? Or in the evening, I should say, not at night, in the afternoon. He was up there the other day. It took him 4 hours to make that whole loop clear to Big Springs and back. Well, you're right in the heat of the day. I had some people call me from Swan Lake, said he groomed that last Saturday, busiest day of the week, at 38 degrees and turned the trail into slush. And then some guys went up in there on tracked side-by-sides and got stuck in the slush. And if those tracks freeze up, we rode it last Saturday, and someone had done the same thing. Man, if you get a ski hooked in a 10-inch frozen trench, you could be in trouble on the snow machine. My point is, the time of day that he's doing it is absolutely wrong. And it tells you right here, don't follow the groomer. If he's up there 10 o'clock in the morning, what are you gonna do?
Yeah. Like I said, we'll have a conversation. We'll pull the groomer in and have a conversation about what needs to happen.
Yes.
Just, I know this isn't my part, but as an operator, I feel I need to say this. Equipment can and will break down, period. So if he's out there grooming in the middle of the night and say, clear out there by Tow Box Guard Station, that machine breaks down, is he gonna freeze to death overnight? Is there a backup plan if it breaks down? I mean, those are things that probably need to be looked at from an operator sense.
We
We buy
got
one.
him a GPS phone.
Okay,
and
that's, I just wanted to bring
He has
that
a
up.
satellite phone.
Satellite tracker. If he has problems, he can contact somebody.
Because number one, our employees are the most important. I mean, their safety and concern for them is number one. But, like I said, I watch up there on the ski lift. Groomers out at night.
Right.
I mean, and I know this is a little bit different, but it's still, it's part of the job.
Yeah, I'm just bringing that out
Yeah.
as an operator's perspective.
Would you agree setup time is important for
Oh,
the
yeah,
trail?
absolutely.
Thanks.
Okay?
Okay, another situation. Last year, he was up grooming Mink Creek. The tiller came off the groomer, and he didn't even know it was gone until he went to load the groomer on the truck. 4 miles up the canyon, he lost that groomer. The tiller had no idea it was gone. I absolutely don't get that. I don't know what's going on. He went up inland, oh, it was before Christmas. Went up on the outside of the road all the way up. When he came back down, he dragged that tiller through the rocks. So that one corner, that rock is as big as a truck. He hit that with the tiller because it broke some of the rock off. And then he put a berm that big, 3 feet in from the edge of the trail, almost dead center of the trail. It's like, he has no idea what's going on behind him. I don't understand that. Does that cat not have a rear view mirror in it?
I've never been in it. I don't know.
There are just a lot of questions that.
Well, like I said, we'll talk personnel
Okay.
with the individual and go from there on that end of it.
Hey, are those two different brochures you have?
Yes, they are, but they're both from Parks and Rec. I
May
have.
may I have a copy of each
multiple
of
copies
them?
of these.
Yeah.
This one.
If you have
I
an
don't.
extra. Oh, you only have one? Yeah. If I could have a copy of that one, that'd be
This
good.
one I have. I
Whatever
had
you,
my wife make them for me, so.
yeah. If you wouldn't mind leaving me one.
Sure.
And your meetings are the second Tuesday,
Second Tuesday of each month at 5:30 right here.
5:30. Okay, thanks.
Let me see. Okay, I think that's about all I have. I covered most of the bases that I wanted to. Just
Okay.
Have some huge concerns.
We'll get an appointment set up and go from there.
Hey, can I make a recommendation that maybe it's time to have a change in the operator?
That's personnel. We'll have a conversation and we'll see what happens from there.
Okay. I would appreciate that.
Okay. All right, any questions, comments?
Pretty clear.
Anybody else? All right, thank you.
Thank you. I see that. This one was just handed out, so these.
Brian, come on. I'm gonna win the day and time. This is my day.
Well, we can talk about that. Thank you.
Irma?
This is intimidating. Where do you want me to sit?
Sit right here and then introduce yourself. This is a discussion pertaining to property taxes. Okay.
Okay, I'm Jane Davis, and I'm here to request that my property taxes be forgiven for a year.
Okay, tell us your story.
How far back, 2018? Or recent?
Well, you got about
Well,
10, you got about 10 minutes.
Yeah, I wrote it down. Do you have the copies of it?
Yes.
2018, my husband died. 2019, COVID hit. 2020, I got audited because the year my husband died, he didn't tell me that he had withdrawn $95,000 from his 401. And we cannot find where it went to. 2019, my grandson got injured in an explosion. He was on top of a tank, gas tank, and it exploded. He had medical bills. Even though he had good insurance, it topped out at about $1 million, and we had to help him with the rest. I got cancer in 2019. I'm in remission, however, it's come back. Let's see, what else has been going on? It's to the point where I'm just thinking what's happening next. So I'm living on Social Security, but I'm also living on credit cards. Since the property tax has gone up so much, I'm unable to pay that much. And I don't understand why it doubled so quickly. I know my neighbor sold his house for $365,000 and now it's down to $300,000, the value of it. So I don't understand why my taxes went up so much. So what I need is temporary relief. I'm applying for a cricket breaker, but I haven't been on it yet. And so, during COVID, a lot of my neighbors and family members suffered. I had my husband's 401, so I was able to help them out with that. But they weren't loans, they were gifts. And that's it.
Okay. Question?
Do you own your house?
Do I own my house?
Yeah.
We set up a trust that my son is actually, at the point that I die or move out, the house converts to him.
It's a life trust.
Yeah. I didn't understand that when I signed up. I was surprised that I'm still on the deed, actually. But that's how he has that. We have it, home equity that's maxed out at $20,000.
Other than the home equity, is there another loan against your property, or is just the home equity?
There's just the line of equity of $20,000 through Westmark. My grandson, when he did get a settlement from the company for $2 million, but the insurance came in and took the first $1 million. And then the hospitals, they were going to reduce the amount he owed, but they took, I think after everything was over with, he had $60,000, but he owed a lot of family members money.
Okay. It says, you're looking at this, you did not apply for circuit breaker last year?
I
And
didn't
you haven't
realize
so
there was-
far this year?
I have to wait till my taxes are done to apply for it, but I'm in the process. I didn't last year because I didn't know about it. I wish I had.
Applications, they can't take applications for circuit breaker yet this year. It's next month.
Okay. Okay. But you're not behind on your taxes. You're just looking at this year's taxes.
I can't understand the statement. It says it's due on the 3rd of January, and it said $2,400 is due, and I'm not sure.
Well, your first payment would have been, first installment
December 20.
is December.
It didn't say anything about installments on the
Oh,
statement I got
well.
yesterday. It just said due.
There's a first and a second. Well, now you've gone past for your second.
So it'd be the full amount on the statement.
Also, I forgot to mention because of my husband, also Vanguard didn't send me a statement saying that my husband had pulled out that money. So when I filed taxes for 2018, I didn't put it down there. And so what I'm have to pay back to the federal government is $65,000. And that is an agreement of $750 a month, of which I only pay $400 because I can't afford to pay the other $350. The state put a lien on the house, which is how I discovered that I am still on the deed. So I had to pull out of the 401, the remainder of the 401 to pay for that tax to the state.
Okay. Braden, did you get a hold of Jennifer?
Yeah.
I'm gonna have the treasurer come down.
So write me a check.
Well, it's the other way around.
Well, good, I didn't bring my checkbook.
Never bring the tax bill.
But she's the one that would, if you have questions about your tax bills, she would have all the answers for you.
Okay.
And so I want the person with all the knowledge to share with you that.
Okay, do you want me to wait back there, or?
No,
Any other
it will just
questions?
be a minute here.
I just saw her in the hallway. She'll be quick.
So do you have any questions?
Not at this point.
Do you each have a copy of my statement, or do you just
Yeah.
have one?
Yep, we all have. I have a hard copy and they have it on electronically.
Okay.
And I want you to know that we have compassion,
Oh,
but
I know.
we also have a duty and a responsibility to make sure that equity throughout the county, that people have the responsibility to pay their taxes.
I'm just curious, if our taxes have gone up, doubled, where is that excess going to?
There isn't an excess.
So we were that far behind every year?
No, there's our
There
guru.
has to be an excess if we weren't
Well-
behind before.
It depends on, each year, we levy for a certain dollar amount. Not everybody's taxes went up double. It depends on what your valuation changes with.
How much my neighbor's house sold for?
Well, it's what your home is assessed at. Because the levy,
Due to how much my neighbor's house sold for.
probably,
Okay.
the levy actually went down for at least Bannock County. You also probably, are you in the city of Pocatello?
In the state of Pocatello?
City of Pocatello?
I am.
Okay, so you also pay taxes to the city of Pocatello and the school district, School 25. Most levies went down this year, but if your value went up, then you could potentially have to pay more.
So tell me what a levy is.
It's the amount of, the levy determines how much money you pay into each taxing district.
So
And that's-
what benefits am I getting now that I didn't get before, since I'm paying double?
You're probably getting the same benefit, but like I said, depending on the value of your home, you may pay more, you may pay less. If your value stayed constant and the levy goes down, then you would pay less
How often does that happen?
every year.
The levy goes down every year?
No, the levy is redetermined every year.
Oh, no.
And it depends on
That's
the,
not good.
it depends on the
It
over
could go
levy.
up then, right?
Or it could go down. Your valuation may go down if home values are changing, which the market is changing a little bit depending
It's about
on,
3% a month still.
depending on which bracket your home is in.
Yeah.
So it changes every year. Do you get the homeowner's exemption?
No.
Probably not because
I
it's in the
should.
estate.
Oh, homeowner's exemption, I'm
If it's in a life trust,
Oh,
You know what?
because that could change how much you pay also.
I wonder if that's another reason it went up so much, is that,
It may be dropped off.
yeah, since
Um,
my son.
Oh, that could be, Ernie, on your sheet there. Can you see?
Once
I
you're,
can't see it on
once you
hers.
have a homeowner's exemption, it shouldn't change unless the status of your home changes. Is that correct, Jason?
I wonder if, what year did you have that life estate set up?
2018, after
When-
my husband died.
When Jen brings that down, she should be able to,
Yeah, I don't
tell
have
you.
that on her, I have it on the next
Either.
one.
okay.
I don't have it on her.
Do you want me to run that down to Jen? I had Braden have her bring the information because I didn't know if Jen knew who this was pertaining
This is,
to. But I can run that. And then we can also look and see if you have that homeowner's exemption. If you don't, you definitely need to get that on there.
I think she'll qualify for the circuit breakers.
I don't know. I've heard a lot of people haven't qualified, but I wish I'd known about it 5 years
Sure.
ago.
Is there, let me ask you a couple questions. At your home, which I'm not familiar with, is there any sort of a rental or income property associated with it? There's no business run out of it or anything like that, right? And then
No, no, there's not. My son lives with me, but he has no income.
But he doesn't pay any rent?
No, that's why we signed the house to him, because we knew he would never be able to.
Okay. And then secondarily, do you have any other income other than your Social Security that's coming in?
No.
Okay, so,
I do have a dog that's gonna have puppies. If I
Don't
sell
claim
them,
it.
that'll be 4,000.
so it seems like she would qualify. And-
Yeah.
Which will be a great thing if you do.
And sir, I understand that there are others more deeply in trouble than I am. And so I just thought I would give this a shot and see how it works out. But I understand that you have limited money and a lot of people in need, especially since COVID is still hurting us.
Well, and I'll just tell you that a lot of times when people come before us, they're in danger of losing their house. You're not in danger of
No.
losing your house. You got 4 years to make this up and stuff, and so it's pretty tough for me to put the burden on somebody else
That's gonna
when it's your responsibility at this time. But we'll let our distinguished treasurer
Yes?
bring you up to date a little bit about where we're at.
First, I'm having trouble reading my statement that I received yesterday. It said 2,400 is due now.
Are you Irma?
Irma Jane, but Jane, I go by Jane, but yeah, Irma
The
Jane.
total amount on it is around 2,300, but that's for both halves. All that's due is the first half.
Okay, it didn't say that on the statement. It said all of it was due.
So what is totally due right now is $1,156. Is that correct?
As of today is $1,159.11.
And that's past due, right?
That's what was due December 20th.
Okay.
Is her homeowner's exemption on the
Yes,
property?
there is a homeowner's exemption. She has the full exemption.
And we were talking about, before you got here, possibility of a circuit breaker for her.
There is no circuit breaker on there, but she could apply for next year.
And Anita told me usually in February is when that opens up, right?
It's open now.
It is open now?
Until April 15th.
Okay,
And I'm in the process of that.
okay. Because that'll be your biggest benefit
Yes.
if you
definitely.
qualify for that.
Okay.
Comments, questions?
So,
No, she's answered everything I've
sir,
got.
since I don't owe the 2,400, I can come up with the 1,200 that's due now, so I can retract my request.
And then there'd be,
Then the
In
second half is
6
due by June 20th.
And my dog will have her puppies by then.
Now, one other thing, I don't know if you're aware of this, but you can pay monthly as well. You don't have to wait and come up with all of
Yeah,
it.
that's 200 a month, and if I had 200 extra a month, I should give it to the federal government. Yeah.
Okay. A lot of people aren't aware that they can do that, so just wanted to make you aware. But if you can get in there and sign up for the circuit breaker and qualify, that will definitely help you for next year and going forward.
Okay.
okay,
All right. We're done?
we're good then? Thank you.
Thank you for your time.
All right. Anne Marie White? Go ahead and introduce yourself, and you know the routine.
My name is Anne Marie White, and the problem I have is totally on me. I made a big mistake. I was dealing with a spouse who this is the only government entity that requires me to include his income on anything. He's been out of my life, left me with 5 children 30 years ago, and his income has been declared by Social Security separate from me, but it's counted against me on property taxes. He went into the hospital the first part of April, and I ended up having to sit with him to interpret for the medical staff because he doesn't have the cognitive ability to represent himself with medical. I have spent 47 days continuously in the hospital. During that time, my property, whatever you're supposed to file to get reduced taxes. So that came due. I have paid taxes for years in another county, and I had in my brain that I had to take care of that by June 20th. When I went to file it on June 20th, they said, sorry, it was due April 15th. Go talk to your commissioners. That's what puts me here today. His income with the new increase went up to $1,569 a month. Of that, $1,529 goes to the nursing home that he's in. So even if I could access his money, there's no money there to help access it. And my income is very limited. Social Security and supplemental Social Security income. And I'm here to ask for any help that you can give, or if you can give any help. When I tried to debate whether or not to put this on a credit card, I talked to somebody in the treasurer's office in December, and they recommended that I not put it on a credit card, that I wait until I talk to the commissioners. And then somebody else recommended that I not put it on a credit card because the interest is cheaper with the county than it is with the credit card.
The fee that would be caused or charged to use the credit card was probably higher than what we were charging for late fee and interest.
Right. So I didn't even attempt to pay anything on a credit card in December. I was waiting to hear if there was any assistance whatsoever available.
Well, I'll tell you, I appreciate that you did come in and talk, and you had a conversation about paying it on time and stuff. That softens my heart a little bit. I'll just tell you that much in itself. Any comments?
I just want to ask one question. When you're referring to the income, you're referring to the PTR exemption, that they take household income when you qualify. Is that what you were referring to when you said that Idaho's the only state that?
No, it's not the only, it's the only government entity that requires me to include his income,
Okay.
which is required.
But when you
Mhm.
qualify for the circuit breaker exemption?
Right.
Okay, I just wanted to clarify
Right, yeah.
that.
Sorry.
So when they apply for that exemption, they're using household income, even though his income isn't helping her?
So, are you divorced?
No,
just
we're
separated?
Separated. He
Okay.
lives in Idaho Falls, I live in Aramal.
Yeah, and I read that, and that's kind of
I just wanted to make sure that
been
that's what
separated for 30 years.
Yeah.
Okay. Questions?
No.
Commissioners, had she qualified for the full exemption, she would have received a $50 tax bill instead of the $791.
Are you filing for that now, or you won't qualify for it?
No, well, you can apply for it late. When I went into.
I mean, for this coming year and
Oh,
stuff.
yes, I'll definitely, I applied for it
You
the
will
year
qualify.
before. I just was tied up in the hospital and I just didn't read the right date. I said, it's my fault that I didn't read the right date, but I attempted to file it on June 20th and got told the only thing you can do now is go to the commissioners.
Okay. Any thoughts, any motions?
Can I take a look at that?
Yeah. Oh, my, it's on, but there's what's all over it. Tax bill, $50.
I can make a comment on my bank statement having a $1,000 surplus in it. My spouse also has 0 life insurance. And I have no other resources, like right now, I am not fixing a fireplace in my home, which is my only source of heat, until I know what I have to do with this bill first. And I know that I'm gonna be stuck with whatever fees that I have to handle with the funeral when it happens.
Yeah.
And that money is left over from the federal government stimulus that I said, okay, this is my backup for emergencies.
Well, like I said, I appreciate you working towards trying to have some solution. And like the treasurer said, if all things would have fallen in place, you would have had a $50 tax bill. So my feelings are maybe cancel your first half, have you pay the second half because you did make a mistake, but that would cut your tax bill in half for the year, and then make sure that you get on the circuit breaker so that you're not back in this situation again.
I'll never forget that date again, believe me.
Any other suggestions, comments, questions?
No, I can support that suggestion.
Even with a $400 tax bill, looking at your income, would you be able to take care of that sometime during the course of the next year?
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you, sir.
Even if we cut the tax bill in half, with your income, would you be able to take care of that during the course of the year?
It will be very difficult, but I will do my best to try. If I weren't, I'll be very honest, if I weren't driving from Aramo to Pocatello to take care of medical problems for him, it wouldn't be a bill, it wouldn't be a problem. But that gas bill, until he passes away, if he passes away in the next 6 months, is really what's killing my budget right now.
And you don't have a stove that works?
Pardon?
You don't have a stove that works?
No, so my fireplace, I had electric heating through the house when I bought it. And when they did the inspection, there's 3 of the 5 rooms that the electric heating in the ceiling does not work. And they recommended that I not use any of it because of a potential hazard. So then that left me with a fireplace in the living room to heat my whole house. And now the fan has gone out on the fireplace, so I have heat just right in the living room that's not even circulating to the remainder of the house. And I am trying to not put any heaters in because I did it in December and found out I can't afford that increased electric bill to do that. So that's what I'm trying to do right now, is just balance everything and hopefully get the fan back into my fireplace also.
Well, I appreciate your semi-kindness, but I'm willing to go this year and just do the whole thing and help her out with her husband in that situation. So that's kind of where I'm at with this one.
If we're gonna go that far, I'd say at least $50. I mean, if that's what it would have been, then I'm willing to do something like that. But
And
there's a responsibility too.
I don't disagree with that. So, Mr. Chair, I would make a motion that we accept a $50 tax payment this year and make sure you get everything turned in.
Oh, it will definitely be turned in.
So-
And of that, all that would be due right now is 25. Then the other 25 would be due in June.
Okay, I will accept that friendly amendment that we have $25 due now and $25 due in June.
Questions? We have a motion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it, and I apologize for my mistake.
Well,
I guess we all make mistakes sometime in life.
it's still a lot of winter left. Stay warm, okay?
Yes.
Take care of that thing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Looks like Seacog. I'm gonna move you back.
That's fine. I'll be here.
That's what I thought.
It's way over there. Good morning, Commissioners. I am Charity Staggs with CCOG. I am here requesting permission to proceed with an application. 2 applications for the Western States Fire Managers Program, one for the Big Onion Hazard Fuel Reduction Project and the other for the 9 Mile Phase 2, also known as Iago Hazard Fuels Reduction Project. There will be a 10% match required. We're asking the landowners cover that. And we don't know when the deadline is yet. It hasn't quite come out, but probably February.
Okay, any questions, any concerns with the grant committee? Okay. Questions, concerns?
No, I just want to move fast on these.
Trying real hard.
It's taken us a long time to get to this point with
Yeah.
our previous one, so, okay, I'm good.
A motion?
Mr. Chair, I make a motion that we approve submission for the grants as requested.
Have a motion, all in favor, say aye.
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 Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Did you want these copies now, or you want them later?
Charity, do you want the copies of this now, or do you want them later?
I can take it now.
Do you want me to take them to Christie?
Yeah,
Copies?
you know where Christie is in our office.
I can
101.
find 101? All right.
If you'll just stop by there and make sure she knows you have them and what's going on with them.
Thank you so much.
All right, thank you. Shanda.
Good morning, Commissioners. Shanda Crystal, Chief Procurement Officer. And I have with me a couple folks that we just want to go around the room.
Dan Kendall, Facilities Director.
Asher Ford, Maintenance Technician.
Danny Whitworth, Facilities.
Carl Johnson, Planning Director.
Tony Myers, County Sheriff.
So I'm here for a couple items today. The first one I want to start with is a discussion regarding the detention center roof and the request for proposal that was issued a bit ago. So as you know, we did receive one bid that came in, and that bid was evaluated by a group. The sheriff put together a great cross-section of evaluation groups. We had individuals from planning and zoning, from facilities, and then jail maintenance, and the chief of staff as well. So we had internal experts and external ones. So we had a great group to evaluate that bid. That bid has been evaluated, and that team would recommend that this company does have the ability to do the work that we are asking them to do. The second piece of this is, of course, the price tag that came along with it. It was quite a bit higher than what we had originally budgeted. So we wanted to look and review and determine if that was in the ballpark of where this project should be for this time and season that we're in now. So we tried a couple different avenues that proved to be unsuccessful to verify. Similar to another project that we had that was well over budget, we looked for other contractors that hadn't bid this project to see if they could come in and give us a ballpark of, right, if you had been interested, right, what would that dollar amount have been? And on previous project, right, they were able to respond and we were able to evaluate. This one is so unique. It's not a regular customary roof. It's a cement roof, which requires a very specific
Concrete.
Sorry, what?
It's concrete.
Yeah, yes. And so even having the concrete there, we asked, well, could we screw through it to the steel deck below? So we did try to venture if that was even a possibility that we could do that. And if it were lightweight cement, we sure could, but sure enough, it's not. So we are left with one avenue. And if we had questions on that, I'm sure Dan and Hal could speak better than I could on the specifications of what we have and where we're going with it. But we did vet out a couple different projects to see if there was another way that we could tackle this project at a more economical price. Those came back that wasn't the case, right? It's just not built to do that. If we wanted to screw down into the deck, we'd have to bore out holes to do so, which would then increase the labor rates and potentially the materials, then we would be in about the same boat we are now. But that was something that we looked at. We also tried to, we tried contractors that hadn't bid, and nobody responded back to us. We had one that was going to stop in when he was here in Pocatello. It happened to be super crummy weather, and so he's like, no, not interested. And so we didn't get any of the contractors we reached out to even give us a ballpark that we're playing in to know. So similar to the last project, other ways we can do it is historical values. The last time we replaced the roof was, it was the original roof that we put on it 10-ish years ago, if I'm right, Sharon. They put a sealant on there that extended the life of the roof for an additional 10 years, but we have reached the end of that. That's why the project was put before the commissioners to redo it. So we came up with...
What's price differences?
We are looking, including architectural services, roughly $227,000 that we would need to complete the project.
And we put aside what?
$750,000.
How much?
$750,000.
So we're at $1 million for the roof?
Between the actual doing, right, the bid came in at $943,
That's right.
and we have just short of $34,000 for architectural services.
Okay.
Have we paid that bill for the architect yet? No?
So Teresa thought that we had a percentage of it turned in, but that not the completion.
Like 27 of it we paid
Okay.
This year or last year?
She thought it was this.
this year, maybe.
Okay,
Because
I'll check on that.
I was hoping it was the last, but
Okay,
I'm not sure.
I can check on that. If Teresa thinks it was this year, it most likely was.
Well,
But
I didn't
I'll-
hear
but I
whether
can
she said
check.
this year or last year.
Okay,
So-
okay, I can check on that.
so there's a couple recommendations that we would like to discuss with the board. The evaluation team would like to move forward with this project before there's additional damage or cost incurred as we move forward in an uncertain climate. So we would like to move forward. We are confident that the company can do the work that we've asked them to do. But there's a couple different things we would like to do. We would recommend that the commission award the bid, but we would like to have a conversation before a contract's signed that we try to value engineer prior to that contract. The cost would not increase beyond the $943 that they bid, but potentially there was a brief conversation that we had about adjusting the roof, the type of materials that were used over the administration, if I understand correctly.
Yeah, so the admin side of the building does not have the concrete roof, so you can put fasteners there, so we could get that, and that will lower the cost a little bit.
So there are a couple different avenues that we could, the contractor is confident that we can't get to the budget amount of $750, but he is interested in having a conversation with more skilled folks than I am to understand the details behind what we may or may not be able to do before a contract is actually signed. I did contact Christy to let her know potentially, right, we've got the $227,000. So we could talk about a couple different places that could cover that, or however other conversations or things that you would like to vet out as we move this project forward. We would love to get them done.
What's the life expectancy of the new roof?
20 years.
20 years, yeah.
20 years? Okay. So have you identified some funds?
I've thought of a couple options, but real quick, what's the time frame of getting this done? Will it span into next fiscal year?
So that's another reason why I want to recommend that we award it to this company to get on their calendar to understand what that might look like.
Okay.
I don't know. I don't know how long it'll take the materials to get here. I don't know if they can start in the spring and it's a 90-day project, right? And they're in, out, and done before the end of our fiscal year. There are things I don't know until we move forward, right? And they give me a time frame.
So if it's spanned over next year, we could anticipate using some money, budget for the rest of it next year. If we need to complete it this year, we've got some extra money in a litigation line item in county operations that we could use. This $750,000 is budgeted in the general fund in the sheriff's or jail department. So we would just be using general fund dollars if we did that. We could dip into the LFTAC money, the extra PILT money, that we have $512,000 that we could use for that. The last option could be potentially ARPA funds. If we were to do that, maybe what we do is we use all ARPA funds and let the $750,000 roll into reserves for next fiscal year. So a couple different options.
Questions?
Do we have PILT money that could be used for this? Can you explain that to me?
So we received,
500,000 this year, and another 500,000 next year.
and it's basically it's ARPA funds that the feds got, and only counties or entities that are PILT qualified received those dollars.
Is this part of that 17 million you were talking
No,
about? Too? So this
no,
is separate.
those are specifically ARPA dollars. These are local.
PILT funds come from the federal government paying us taxes for the federal lands that we have. And because of the extra COVID money, there was a large amount that was redistributed through all the counties this year. Normally, we get about 500,000 in PILT-ish, 500,000-ish. So this year, we got an additional 500,000, and next year, we'll get one more 500,000 payment on the money she's talking about.
So that's limited. That's 2 years
Yeah.
that we'll get the extra that we won't get at another time.
And because they're associated with ARPA, we do have reporting requirements. It's not as strict as the regular ARPA funds, but we do have to report how we use the money. It can be used for whatever we choose. We just have to report on it. There's no time constraints on when we have to use that money. I just have to report annually until it's all gone. So, but like I said, we've got county operations, we've got that money, and we've got the ARPA money, or once we get the time frame, we can determine if it's something we can budget and use reserves next year to cover it.
The PILT money, it sounds like that's more flexible than
Yes.
the ARPA.
Yes.
So I would say probably not use the PILT money.
Well, honestly, just listening, I think that we need to approve it because we need to get the roof done. I mean, we can't continue to have deterioration. And it's not gonna go down, I don't feel like. But we can identify when we get the bid closer and know what the actual price is gonna be. We can identify exactly where we're gonna pull the funds from.
Because we have plenty of options.
Yeah, and that's what I like, but I think at this point, it would be good for us to award and move forward.
That's kind of where I was at, because again, we got 2 or 3 different options, so let's take some time and look which fits best. Award it so we can move forward, because we've been waiting on this for a while, so let's get moving.
Yeah, this project started last fiscal year.
Okay.
And you want us to move forward, with maybe making adjustments to that admin side, if it'll limit the cost?
Let's see what value engineering we can do.
I want it so that everything's gonna last 20 years. I don't wanna have parts of it that we start going cheaper
Right.
on. Let's make the whole
That's my
system
feeling.
last 20 years. That's the way I feel.
So, Mr. Chair, I make a motion that we award the bid and authorize the team to go back and meet with the contractor to value engineer within the spec of a 20-year lifespan is what we're looking for. How's that?
Okay, any questions? Nope. We have a motion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
And I do have a letter prepared, if you'd like to send out.
For us.
To award the project, and then I'll get the right individuals connected with Contract West to value engineer what they can, start putting the contract together and get it before legal. At that point, right, we should have a very clear timeline and dollar amount to get with Christie to understand exactly what it is that we ask and bring it back before the board for decision.
Mr. Chair, can I make an amendment to that to just include the contractor's name, which is Contract West Roofing?
We have a friendly amendment, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
My other item I have is a general update. For procurement, there's a new project that we have added to the list that we are looking at procuring, and that is sanitization chemicals out of the jail. That we are looking at potentially piggybacking off a state contract that they have a local company here in town that will help increase response rates to any time that the jail happens to, if a washing machine breaks or if they run out of a chemical or whatever, that response times will be much increased. But we're still vetting out a couple options before we bring the full document back before the board, but that project is getting going. The survey review is active and going. I've got a couple different local surveyors that have reached out with questions, so we'll start moving that through the process. And the fireworks show that we received a single bid that is under the same review as the last two that we've received a single bid on. So that a recommendation should come before the board in the next couple weeks. But other than that, the rest of our other two projects are closed for the winter. And we do have a couple more coming down the pike. I have had a conversation with, the court system has reached out in regards to their drug testing services and how those are adjusting, and how then as we move forward we'll need to bid out those services. So we'll start having that conversation as well and get a plan together and get it before the board.
Just one question for you. Road salt. Do we contract with that to come in, or are we hauling that? Do you know?
So we bid it for both,
That's
and the same company won either or. I believe Kyle had asked for it to be delivered. We just didn't have the manpower to run down and pick it up.
I had a guy that has a trucking company that asked if how we do the bids on the hauling of that. So I told him I knew we had two directions that we was looking at, and I wasn't sure which one it ended up at.
That would be an interesting conversation, because then if we did that internally and then got an independent contractor to run the truck for us because we didn't have the staff, it could maybe save us money. There was a substantial difference between the company delivering it to us and us going to get it.
Yeah.
So then understanding if we added that contract price for somebody else to go pick it up for us, if that was still under what the other company was bidding, that'd be interesting to look at.
It's something to think about next year as we go through that again.
Okay. I'll reach out to you and get contact information and have a conversation.
Okay.
Excellent.
All right.
Any other questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.
And back to Christie.
Okay. Christy Clauser, Comptroller. I have before the board two items. The first one is easy, so we'll start with it. It is to have the board start approving payroll. So we briefly talked about this during claims, I think, last week or 2 weeks ago. I am proposing this report. What we would do is each pay period on Thursday, we would give you a report that shows a summary of what we are paying employees and then the benefits that are dispersed. This is something we've not done before, but was recommended by ICRIM once upon a time. And we just finally, with our new system, have a decent report that we could provide you to have you sign off. Already you sign off on salaries when you sign the salary approval forms, but
Then we do the monthly deal too, right? For salaries?
Yes, and that's for the salary approval forms. That's a
Okay.
summary of the salary approval forms.
Okay.
Most deduction information follows, and it falls underneath the gross salary that you're approving through the salary approval forms. And then at budget time, you approve PERC and workers' comp and those kinds of things. But this would just be kind of one step farther in having you approve the actual biweekly pay period.
Okay.
Of claims. So what we could do, if you want to do this, is I could do a catch-up for the first quarter and then any pay periods upon when you want to start doing this, if you're interested. And then each pay period, I could have you sign it on, like I said, the Thursday payroll.
No, I loved seeing it. The same trucking company, one of their employees is coming to our landfill. So they was accusing me of how much more money we pay people instead of the general public that they're competing. You're wrong. We don't pay more than the general public. We have better benefits maybe. But
Yeah. The reason I chose this report is because it doesn't have any personal information, so we wouldn't need to redact anything, and you could have it as part of public record. The only concern with having specific pay information is we can't provide deduction information. So by giving you a total of how much goes to AFLAC or items like that, it's not divulging any personal information. So.
I liked it.
Cool. Then we will, next week I'll do a catch-up. Next week is payday, if I can have that back, because I don't remember what I gave you.
You get the same form?
Yeah. Next week is payday, so I can do a catch-up, and then I'll let you know how much it is per pay period. But I thought we could use Christie's stamp that has all 3 lines, so that you could just sign on there that you're approving it, and then we'll just have payroll scan a copy so that we've got record that you've approved it.
Okay.
Cool.
Okay. I like it.
The next item I have for you is we received notification, it's new legislation that was signed last year, Idaho Code 638026, where this is going to be the first year, next year, that we have to reduce our property tax request for the amount that we've levied for indigent public defense services. So I have some spreadsheets that I put together that Jason looked at. There's 2 pages and they're staggered. Jason and I have talked to a couple of the other clerks to see how they're doing this. I need to have you sign a form once we've decided which way to go. But Jason and I put together, I gave you my copy. We put together a couple scenarios. One is based on budget, which makes more sense to us because that's how we set the levy for the property taxes that we're going to receive. We have to go back 3 years. So there's, on the form that you're going to sign, it's 2020 taxes, 2021 and 2022, but those are for fiscal year 21. 2021 and 22. So sorry, they follow in line. The spreadsheet gives you the indigent budget, how much, and when I put function revenues, those are reimbursement dollars that are specific to that function, so that's why I used the words function revenues. And then other revenues are sales tax, property replacement, and what I did is I took those amounts and distributed them based on the percentage of the budget. So for indigent, it was 39% in FY22. And public defense was 61%, so we allocated it that way. Property tax request, I did the same way. And then we did anticipate using reserves, which we don't always end up having to do, but that was how we set the budget. So the dollar amount that's highlighted on the first page is what I'm recommending we would fill in on this form. If you look at the second page, we did a second scenario, which is based on actual expenses. Revenues tend to come in higher than we anticipate, but because we're dealing with reimbursement dollars of indigent individuals, we never know how much the collections are going to come in at. So revenues did come in higher than we anticipated. That's why if you look at the 2 different scenarios, for indigent, I anticipated $185,000. We actually received $253,000. And for public defense, I budgeted $100,000. That came in at $333,000. Those are collected through court records, bonds, and fines. Again, we never know if people are going to be able to pay, so we anticipate low. And we did not need to use reserves in the actual case. And property tax distribution is a little bit different because I took actual expenditures, took away the revenues we actually received, and any amount of property tax dollars received then rolled into reserves. after speaking with Jason, it's our recommendation that we use the budget scenario, just simply because that's why we levied what we did. The dollars are fairly close. But again, these are going to be dollars. What we will do is when you fill in this form, well, I'll fill it in if you'll sign it.
When we sign that form?
When you sign this form, what's going to happen is they're going to take our foregone, the highest of 3 years. They're going to reduce that property tax amount by these dollar amounts. So what that dollar amount is going to come to is
I've looked at them multiple times.
currently, in 2019, our property tax request was 24.9 million. In 2020, it was just over 25 million. And in 2021, it was 25.5 roughly. If we reduce it by these dollar amounts, it's going to change our highest of 3 years to 23.3, 23.5, and 24.2. And that's what we'll be able to levy for
Going forward.
next year.
So associating with this, the money that we're now paying to the health department, is it tied into this?
No.
Okay.
No. We opted, what we had to do in this year's property tax request was the indigent levy went away. So we had to move that money into the general fund. So we'll be able to levy basically $1.2 million less out of the general fund, even though we received a whopping $800,000 from the state to attempt to make us whole.
Yeah.
So we're still going to have about a 400-ish thousand shortfall, depending on what they do with indigent defense. If they truly move public defense out next fiscal year, then we should be okay. If they don't, we may have to come up with about $400,000, keeping their budget the same.
And that's my concern is, I mean, the experience with the health department wasn't positive for us.
No.
We come out on the short end.
Yes,
On
very much
it,
so.
and I'm worried that we'll do the same thing here.
I have no faith in that right now because I have no plan. The committee's not meeting, and we're, what, 6-8 months away from implementation?
Jason and I were also very concerned about that. But I think the numbers that we're going to report, I wanted to use $808,000 because that's what they're giving us in replacement money. But to back that number up, we couldn't. So this was the best scenario, I believe, that it will put us in is using the 1.2. And like I said, both numbers are fairly close, but I think the actual numbers are probably the best numbers to benefit the county.
Do you have a preference on the forms that are here, the actual, the
Well,
budgeted?
Christie's typically very conservative with her approach, and I like where I like your recommendation with using the budgeted ones, the 1.2. Right?
Well, we'll have to report all three numbers that are highlighted because we have to report back the 3 years.
Right. Yeah.
Further questions?
I'd go with her recommendation.
Okay.
So I'll fill these numbers in according to what's on here. It does ask for a signature. The letter is made to Jason, just because the state tax commission tends to contact the clerk. But I think you wanted to make sure the commission signed off on this, and
We've usually attached a second page with a
Yeah.
stamp on it.
We can do that.
We did that the other day or something.
well, I thought we could just have the chairman sign if the board approves. And hopefully, at the end of the month, we will get some clarification on how this will work.
So then, Mr. Chair, I'd make a motion that we accept the auditor's recommendation and authorize chair's signature on the report.
We have a motion. All in favor, say aye.
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 And then I'll make sure everybody gets a copy of this when we submit it.
Okay,
That's all I have.
thank you. Brady,
Dottie asked to meet with him before our thing, so I can talk about what he wanted to talk about. He and I have been working with legal for the last couple of weeks to come up with a draft contract to send to McCammon for the ambulance bay, the agreement on that. And so the draft isn't in the packet, it didn't look like. Basically, we're looking for is, and step in, Brian, if I misspeak anything on here, or have you worked with this much, or maybe it was Alan we worked with primarily on this?
Yeah, Alan's been working on this, but he's been keeping me in the loop.
Okay, so basically we're looking at a 10-year contract for them to provide space in the ambulance bay for up to $1 million investment in the facility. They will provide us with 24/7 access, provide us with keys. They'll provide a workstation so the sheriff can have access and have a computer there should the sheriff need access to it.
and a restroom.
And a restroom, showers, the whole ball of wax. Renewal clause at year 8, we come back in and review. There's no contract in there for any maintenance or ongoing electrical. We'll just, at this point in time, it says McCammon will assume all that. What am I missing, Brian? I think that was about it.
Yeah, and I know Braden and Alan were talking to me a little bit about it yesterday, and then they were going to make some tweaks to it, so that may be why it's not in the packet right now.
Okay.
But specifically regarding if there's any procurement, because it is ARPA funds, we'd have to go off federal guidelines. And
Correct.
And Bannock County's interested. So.
Yeah. And Bannock County's interest in the property would stay through the first 10 years, kind of to recoup our investment, and then after that, it becomes fully McCammon property after that. Not Bannock County, because it's just the bay and their fire station, so that's why there's no rent or anything
I only have
associated with it.
one concern about that. Right now, we pay about $2,500 rent for the most. We have ambulances in Ingham, Lava, and Downey, and the most we pay is $2,500 a year. So if we take an investment of $1 million, divide that by 10 years, that's really expensive rent. I know there might be some issue with having a contract longer than that, but it would be nice, in my opinion, if we could extend that out longer than 10 years, just simply because $100,000 rent a year, if you look at it that way, is rather expensive.
And I'm okay with that. We put it at 10 because, again, we weren't sure what we could enter into based on the statute. So can we go longer than that on that contract for something like that?
Let me put some eyes on it, and I can talk to Alan too, because I know he's been researching that as well.
Okay, that was our issue with that, is trying to stay within the confines of what we could or could not do.
And, sorry, but with elected officials, you never know that there might be a new clerk that comes in sorry, not a new clerk, a new mayor that doesn't like the contract or feels that Bannock County should pay more because we're not paying maintenance or something like that. So that would be my only concern.
Yeah.
But.
And in
That's
reality, I don't consider
my
this as
problem.
rent.
Yeah.
Honestly, I mean, we're putting a service in mid-county or South County. So to me, it's a little different than just rent. The other ambulances, we may move them out of those other towns as we see what the service is. And I'm running this full-time compared to having 3 volunteers that they can't get volunteers to serve. So I think there's a bigger conversation. I think that this is an opportunity in spending ARPA funds to improve emergency medical services in the south end of the county. So to me, it's a lot bigger than just paying the rent.
Right.
And I agree with your comments about other elected officials coming in, but boy, they'd have a tough time.
Is this agreement that you're talking about, this is for us to, we're building this thing, right? Pretty
No,
much.
McCammon is building it. We're just
We're
giving
giving
them
the money to
additional
build it.
funds.
Okay. And so then this agreement is for us to be able to use it for an ambulance to be there.
Yeah.
So would the longer, since it costs us nothing then, right, to utilize the space, that's what this agreement is, during the term of the contract, would it be better if it's allowable to have the maximum term?
Correct, and that's where we're waiting for that final ruling on that, because right now, counties can't enter into leases longer than 5 years. And so that's why we're looking at the contract to extend it out to 10, to see if we can do that with a renewal. We're trying to find a way to play within the
So if
rules.
it's possible, we would even take 100 years, right?
Yeah, if it's possible,
Yeah.
yeah.
What if we
Okay.
threw a term in there of $1 a year beyond that?
We,
Could that take
that
care of the
would-
5-year?
Yeah, and the 5-year would come if they are leasing it from the county, right? And if the county, of course, if the county's doing any leasing or anything like that, that 5-year doesn't apply. But that's something, again, Alan's been working on it, but I'll go and double check with him on everything as well. And of course, we're gonna make sure everything falls within the statute and let you know if it doesn't, or in our
Right.
opinion, but, yeah, but I know he has been working on that with those concerns as well.
Yeah.
So, but from the conversation I heard yesterday, I mean, we want to make sure we have everything lined up right, especially with the ARPA funds, federal guidelines and the Bannock County interests.
Well, let's try to have that done, and then we could send it and sign the lease Tuesday,
yeah,
or whatever. But let's try to have all that information so that we,
we'll get you guys copies of it today. I thought it would be in the
I
packet.
think
Does-
it was emailed, because I asked Brady to email it to me on Tuesday. And I think it was.
We've had changes since Tuesday.
Oh. Okay.
Jeff, in that contract, is it pretty clear that, thinking about new elected officials, when none of us are sitting here and the mayor is different, is it pretty clear in that contract that it was built using county money?
Yes.
Okay. I just
we-
want to make it clear
We
so
have an
that,
introductory paragraph that talks about why we're
Perfect.
doing and what we're doing and the purpose of it. So-
okay, perfect. That's all I was thinking. Let's make it clear for those in 15 years
Yeah.
that, kind of how it all began, so that they don't get their feelings hurt when it does go to, like, if we rented it for $1 a year for the next 50 years after, great. And that if they get upset by that, they can go back to the contract that shows it was all done because of the county. So,
Well, it would be county property, and so at that point, the commission could decide what they want to do with it.
yeah.
Whether gift it to McCammon or.
Do they have the final funding?
I think they do.
They've secured all of it, so it's ready.
To the best of my knowledge, they're ready to go. They're just waiting on us to put this contract together so that
Okay.
we can move.
Last I knew, they were close, but not quite there, so
Well-
that's good to know.
I'll have to follow up because that was an assumption on my part, so I'll follow up and see if they have everything secured.
Because I think our last meeting, I don't have my notes from the last meeting, but the last meeting, they had a few minor holes
Yeah,
to finish out the funding.
yeah. I'll reach out to Mayor Hall and ask her.
and the last I talked to one of the counselors, we'll be adjourned till